Good morning, y'all. I'm going to try to do the book of Job this morning. And if you bear with my chicken scratch and um, me being tired for being up all night trying to get it in order. Okay, well, here we go. So this is the outline in the book of Job. Job gets tested. Okay, so Job was a righteous man, and he was very well off. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he had a lot of land and a lot of livestock. So, his life is great. He was so righteous that every morning he would get up and offer a burnt sacrifice to God. Also, when his children were grown, he would offer up burnt sacrifices for each one of them. And the reason he did it, he said, was in case that any of his children had sinned in their heart against God. So he was a very righteous man. So then in enters the devil. This is when the devil comes in. The devil presents himself before God and says, God asks him, from where have you come? And he's like, from walking back and forth on the earth and going to and fro on the earth. So God asks him, have you considered my servant Job? And the devil says, well, yeah, actually, I'm just going to paraphrase. Yeah, actually I have. And then God tells Satan, well, he's a very loyal servant, and he always serves me. And Satan said, well, I bet if you took everything, he serves you and he worships you only because you have given him all that he has. And God said, no, that's not true. Even if he didn't have anything, he would still serve me. And the devil said, well, can I test him? And God's like, okay, you can touch whatever he has, but don't touch him. So Satan goes ahead and does his work. So Job loses all 10 of his children all at the same time. A tent falls on them and kills everyone, all of them, all 10 of them. Then at the same time, the field catches fire and he loses all his land and all his animals. So they come to notify him that all 10 of his children are dead and that he has lost all his land and all his livestock. And he still doesn't, he's suffering and he's in pain. And, when you're grieving, there's 5 stages to grieving, and one of them is anger. Well, he still didn't get angry with the Lord. So then Satan, I guess he was mad, so he presented himself again to God, and God said, from where have you come? And he's like, from walking back and forth on the earth, and going to and fro on the earth. And God says, have you considered my servant Job again? And he's like, well, you already saw that, I let you take everything from him and he still worships me. And he's like, yeah, well, I was just thinking, Satan's like, oh, I was just thinking, well, that's not enough. If you threaten his health, I bet he'll stop worshiping you. And God's like, well, okay, I'm going to go ahead and let you, touch his body, but you cannot kill him, so Satan goes to work, and Job ends up with boils from the bottom of the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. So now he's lost all his children, all his land, all his livestock, and now he's covered in boils. So now his wife is, I guess she's suffering. Those were her kids. She lost all her kids, so she's speaking out of her own pain and anguish, and she tells Job, "Are you still going to worship the Lord? Why don't you just curse the Lord and die?" She tells him. Okay, well, this woman is clearly, I'm pretty sure she did not mean that. She's just in so much pain and suffering. So then we get to part two where Job's friends, they come to um, to console him, and I'm going to tell you they do a really poor job. Um, so one friend is like, so they sit with him for 7 days while he's grieving, and one of the friends says, I mean, these friends, they think they know why he's suffering. They think they know uh, why God has put him in this situation. So they're like know-it-alls. And that's why I call them so-called friends. So we got parentheses, right? Okay. So anyway, so one of the friends goes on to say, Job, you're suffering because of your sin. You deserve what you got. And then he's like, but consider the joy of correction, because God only corrects those that he loves. So you should be celebrating. I was like, wow, really? Did he really just say that? And then another one goes on to say, let's see, then the second friend, he goes on to say, oh, I know exactly why God is doing this. All of your children were sinners, so they deserved what they got. Again, wow. This is from a friend of his, okay? So the third friend goes on to say, he says, oh, Job, if only you would lift up your hands to pray and stop sinning, maybe God would stop your suffering. So so then Job's like, okay, well, now it's time for me to respond. I'm going to have to say something now. So Job responds, first he responds to God, and he's like telling God, he's, instead of like, when you're going through grief and you're just like, this man is very anxious. Can you imagine just losing one of your children? Well, this man has lost 10. On top of that, he's lost everything he has. So, you know how you see in the movies, a woman is distraught. She goes and throws herself on her knees in the field, and she raises her little fist to the sky and curses God. Well, he didn't do none of that. He's like, God, and he told God, this was his response. There's no scale that can handle the weight of the pain I'm feeling. He also tells him that he has nothing to live for. He also tells him, I'm better off dead. Um, he's like, I will never experience happiness again. And then he asked God, if I sinned, what was my sin? What was my sin? Why would you cause me such immense pain? Am I a burden to you? If I was a burden to you, why didn't you just kill me in my mother's womb? And so, he's like, puzzled, like, why, what's going on? So, then he responds to his so-called friends, and he says, first of all, y'all are miserable comforters. Then he tells them, if I were you guys, like, if I was sent to, if you guys would have lost everything like I did, and I was sent to comfort you, instead of telling me the things that y'all are telling me, I would be encouraging you. I would be lifting you up. I would, instead of doing that, y'all are judging me and saying y'all know exactly why God is doing this to me, and making it look like I did something wrong. On top of that, I would be trying to take away y'all's grief. So then he says, then he goes on to say, but you know what? I have hope. He says, but as for me, I know my Redeemer lives, and he will stand upon the earth at last. And after my body has decayed, yet in my body I will see God. Like he's saying, I will always serve God, despite everything that has happened. I will always serve Him. Um, and after that, God restores him and gives him everything back. He gets back land, he gets back cattle, and he even gets back 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he never lost faith. And what I was going to say today is, if you're struggling with your faith, you can fall one of 2 ways. You can fall forward or you can fall backwards. And if you fall backwards, you're falling away from the faith. But if you fall forward, you're pressing into the goodness of God, and it's, eventually any suffering or any pain you're feeling, eventually it will go away. But can you imagine, you're falling backwards, you're falling further and further away. It's going to take you longer and longer, to heal. But if you press into God's goodness and His mercy, He's sure to lift you up and make you whole again. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys this morning. I hope you all have a blessed day. I love y'all. Bye.